Hey going everyone, my name is Lee from Lee's Kitchen. Today we are making pizza dough. So I usually do an overnight ferment for my pizza dough, but I decided today in a pinch that I want pizza tonight and I haven't made any dough. So I am going to make a single day fermented pizza dough. This will ferment over 4 hours, but it would be good to use by dinner time. So let's get into it. First of all, the flour that I'm going to use is, now I'm going to use a pizza flour. This is 13% protein. You could also use a bread flour or just some all-purpose flour as well. But this is what I've got on hand. That's what I'm going to use, okay? Other thing that's really important is that we actually weigh the ingredients. So there's a lot of differentials if you're using cups and teaspoons. So I strongly suggest you get a set of scales and you weigh everything out. So I've already weighed everything else out and we're just going to weigh out the flour. So all right, and we're going to turn that on and just tear that out so it's 0, and we're going to weigh out 600 grams of bread flour. So this will make 4 pizza doughs, and the other 3 I will freeze for future use. So what I'm going to do is, in the stand mixer, I'm going to add 360 grams. So I've weighed out 360 grams of water. And I'm going to add that to our stand mixer. Then I've weighed out 1.5 grams of yeast. And we're going to add that to our stand mixer. And then I've got 18 grams of salt. So I use pink Himalayan salt for all my cooking. And we'll just put that on the other side of where that yeast is, just so it doesn't inactivate it. And then here's a little one that I kind of stumbled across. Add a little tiny bit of molasses to your dough. So it sounds really weird, but what that'll do is that'll help with all the caramelization when the dough is actually baking. So just a little bit, maybe probably maybe half a teaspoon. That's it. All right, so what we're going to do is going to start with the stand mixer, and we're just going to gently start to combine that. So I'll just put that on speed 2 at the moment, and we'll let that run and we'll see as it comes together. And as you can see in my pizza doughs, I don't really add any actual additional sugar or anything like that. So that molasses will be enough to actually just caramelize everything. So you shouldn't need any additional sugar. All right, so I've let that run for a few minutes. It does look just a little bit dry. But keep in mind, we still need to add our oil as well. So I've got 18 grams of oil to add to this. So that'll help it all come together and everything. So we'll add that first. And then if it's a little bit dry still, then we can add just a little bit more water. So I've got 18 grams of olive oil. This is extra virgin. And we're just going to add that in there. And we're just going to let the dough hook just kind of beat that in. And then we'll assess if it's still a bit too dry. But it looks pretty good now. There's nothing in the bottom there, which is really good. So it's going to let that run for a couple of minutes and just let the oil just beat into the actual dough. So a little tip with the yeast. So what I do is I buy a tube of yeast, instant yeast, and this is quite big for me since I don't do a lot of baking. And for this one's actually used by December this year, so it doesn't have a lot of use by in it. So what I do is I actually keep it in the freezer, and if you keep it in the freezer, it stops the yeast from going bad. So my last thing of yeast that I purchased was 4 years out of date, and it worked perfectly. So I was trying to just keep the yeast in the freezer, and then it's completely fine. You just take it straight out and just scoop out whatever you need and put it back. So I'll let the dough knead for about 10 minutes in the stand mixer, And then what I'm going to do is I've just turned it off, and I'm going to leave it off for about 10 minutes. Let it sit there just so the gluten's got time to actually build. And then what we'll do is I'll do a few folds, and then we'll put it through a bulk ferment. And then about an hour before we go to cook, we'll divide it up into portions. And at that stage, I can decide whether I want to freeze it or do the second ferment for dinner tonight. All right, so now we've let the pizza dough rest for 10 minutes. Now we're going to do some folds and just get it all balled up, and then we're going to set it up for its bulk ferment. So to do this, I strongly suggest you have one of these oil sprayers. So this has no propellant or anything in it to actually make the oil come out. It just strictly uses air pressure in it. So it's really good, and you can fill it with any liquid oil that you want. So I've got extra virgin olive oil, but you could also use avocado oil or just your regular oil that you like to use. So rather than using flour to handle the dough, I'm going to be using oil, and you'll find it's a lot easier to actually handle than using flour as well. Because what you want to do is you want to keep your dough as soft as possible, because that will help it ferment a lot easier. If you add too much flour, it's going to take too long to actually ferment. It's going to take longer. So I'm going to spray my hands with some olive oil, rub it in, and also we're just going to get a little bit on our bench as well. Then what we can do is we can scoop the dough out. And you can see this is pretty sticky, but that's not sticking to anything. And so what we're going to do is we're going to do some folds and ball it up. And then you drag it just along the bench there. And you can see it's coming out to a nice even ball, like that. So what we're going to do is, I'm just going to grab the same bowl, a little bit of olive oil, again, spray that in there, and then we're going to put this in there. We're going to cover it with a towel, and then we're going to leave that for 4 hours. All right, so now it's been about 4 hours. Now we're going to ball up our pizza dough. So you can see it's risen a little bit. It doesn't need to double in size to work properly. So we're just going to take that out and get that onto the bench, like so. It's nice and pillowy. And then what we're going to do is we're going to divide it into 4 pieces. Now you can weigh it and everything, but this is pretty round, so I'm just going to go straight through the middle. And just like that. So we've got 4 doughs, it's so soft. And then we're just going to ball it up. So just use the bench to just drag it and just turn it into a smooth ball like so. There we go. Just stretch it over and then use the bench to just kind of bring everything underneath it. All right, so that's those ready for their second ferment. So they just need to sit for about an hour before we go and use them for an actual pizza tonight. So what I'm going to do is I'm only going to use one tonight, and then the other 3 I'm going to freeze. So the way I like to do it is some cling film, nothing too particular. Just pop it in there, and just wrap it up. Just make sure there's no way of the air getting into it so it doesn't get freezer burnt. And you see the great thing, this is not sticking to the bench or my hands at all. Alright, these three can go into the freezer, and when you go to use it, just pull it out that morning that you plan on baking it, and just leave it on the bench for the whole day. Let it just come to room temperature and let that yeast just reactivate, and then you'll be ready to go by dinner time. Alright, so I'm going to let that sit for an hour and then we're going to make our pizza. Alright, so now it's been an hour. Now we're going to start rolling out the dough, ready for the pizza. So I'm just going to get some semolina, sprinkle some of it on the bench here, and you can use flour if you want, or even I've heard rice flour as well works really well. Now we're just going to press from the inside to the outside, turn around, inside to outside, turn over. We're going to make like a bit of a border around the edges. And that'll contain all our sauce and everything, so it's not going over the edge. And then we can just start stretching it. And my pizza oven's on our 12-inch pizza oven, so it's not big. So we're going to make probably about a 10-inch pizza today. So now we're going to get that onto our hill. And I've recently posted a video of cooking in your frying pan. So if you don't have a pizza oven, you could also use your frying pan and start off with there and then finish off in the oven. All right, so I'm going to use a store-bought pizza sauce at the moment. It's a multi one. I have some San Marzano tomatoes growing at the moment, or the bushes, the plants anyway. And hopefully for the first time I've grown tomatoes. It's exciting. So I just want to get some sauce on there. And we're going to grab some mozzarella cheese. Get that on there. Who does not like cheese? So let's slap it on. And I'm just doing a very boring, basic margarita. That's my personal favorite pizza, and that's what I like to have usually. Then I've just got some Parmesan, so I get mine from Costco, and we're just going to grate some of that on there. Like so. And then I've just got some chopped garlic here. I love garlic on my margarita. It's something I always got as a kid. And then we're just going to do a sprinkle of oregano. And we just do a small drizzle of olive oil. All right, and that's ready for the pizza oven. So just want to make sure, see how that's moving right now? That means it's going to come off when we put it into the pizza oven. If it doesn't move, don't try launch it. So the great thing about cooking in a pizza oven, it takes next to no time to actually cook. Literally, it took 3 minutes to cook. It is a little bit harder because you do need to move around the pizza in the pizza oven with a peel and everything, but that's just a skill you used to and everything. So let's try it out. Doesn't that look good? Now, my overnight ferment pizza is really good, but this is pretty good. So if you don't have time to actually make pizza dough the night before, you can do it in the morning, follow that recipe, and you'll have a really good pizza. So if you like this video, don't forget to give it a like. And if you want to stick around, don't forget to subscribe. I've got more to come. See you soon.